With that, I will call to order the September 14th, 2016 meeting for Nottingham Planning Board. I'd like to just go around the room and have my friends introduce themselves.
Robert Davies, alternate.
Teresa Bascom.
John Moore.
Edward Veal. Dirk Rotenheis.
Susan Mooney.
Gary Anderson.
And Paul Colby, Code Administrator.
So we do have a selectman representative coming, so they will be here hopefully shortly. But we're going to get going on a couple of our public hearing items tonight. The first one that was publicly noticed was a conceptual plan for Derek and Jeff Sullivan for commercial property on Old Turnpike Road, and that's map 4, lot 1. They have requested that they come to a future meeting.
Yeah, it's actually lot 4-1-1. It was a misprint on our part. What they're looking for is they want to come in with a conceptual. They're looking to locate their, to build a metal commercial building to locate their business. It's basically, it'll be storage just for their business where they store their product. They're a assembling type business.
Is this the same lot that we looked at before with somebody?
This is where the mud bog was gonna go before. No, this is down the street from the one that.
Down the street.
Yeah.
In between them.
It's right next to Custom Welding, between Custom Welding and the old ice cream shop. Yep,
On that stretch, okay.
yep.
Well, we'll welcome them when they come at a future meeting. We do have the next public hearing, which will be case P16007 SUB, an application from Gary and Lorraine Anderson for a 2-lot subdivision on Guile Road.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to recuse myself.
You're excused. With Mr. Anderson recusing himself, I'd like to appoint Robert Davies as a member for voting. Is there anyone here to talk to the application?
I'm over here on the other side.
Great. Could you introduce yourself?
Gary Anderson, 46 Guile Road.
So we've heard this application before, and I just want to see if you could just get us up to speed. We know that you've been through the zoning board. You've been granted that zoning variance, and if you could just get us up to speed on where that's at.
That is correct. Mr. Chairman, we were heard by ZBA August 23rd, and were granted variance for relief of setbacks on the subdivision before you. And so they, because of in short, just to kind of reiterate from last time, for those who may not remember where this was, because of the combination of slopes and wetlands on the lot, we were having difficulty meeting both the buildable area, 3K area, and as well as the full setbacks. So the zoning board granted us relief of the setbacks, mainly looking at the plan, what would be the future lot on the left boundary to 20 feet.
Okay. And that's reflected on the current plans that the board has.
Yes, I'm sorry, there were also conditions that the house meet 50-foot setback, and also the septic meet 20-foot setback, sides and rear.
To answer your question, no, it's not on the new submitted plans. We on my recommendation, I waited till they get approval, and we'll make that it's one of my conditions I've got listed.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't understand your question.
Yep. Well, with that, Paul, maybe I'll give you the opportunity to maybe give us more information.
Sure. I mean, as you know, this is a continuation of the meeting. As Gary has said, he did get approval from the zoning meeting. They considered, I was there that night, they considered the environmental factors of the wetland, and especially the steep slope more than anything, to protect that, so that's why they granted him. In our previous meeting, outside of that issue, there were just two items to address. One was naturally state subdivision approval. They didn't apply, they hadn't applied for it at the time, waiting for the zoning hearing. And monument citation certificate. And then the third one would be, that I've got, is adding the, we always make a reference to the zoning, like you had asked before. So, except for them three things, they have met everything else on our checklist.
Seeing this is a public hearing, I just want to make sure that we have, the public has opportunity to come speak about this application. And although maybe some people from home that are watching on TV can't see the audience, but there isn't anybody here, so, but I do want to open the public hearing. If anyone rushes in the last second, anyone that wants to talk to, for, or against this application. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, and we'll bring it back to the board for discussion. Does anybody have questions on this application?
Don't have anything. Gary, there's not going to be any new structures or driveways on the steep slopes at all?
No, in fact, it'd be less driveway area than is existing currently. The only new driveway would be the proposed driveway coming off of Guile Road.
I see. So is the existing driveway that goes to the existing work shed, will that still be operational?
That actually will be eliminated, except for, I think if your plan shows the detail B, which mentions use and enjoyment easement, and what that does is just allows a little bit wider area on a switchback.
Sue, if you look at the
Where do I see?
first page, look at the first page, it's easier to see. Right where the lot line, the new lot line, between the, you'll say C detail B, then up at the top right, next to the locus.
Oh, I see.
And the explanation to that to the zoning board, and they fully agreed, was, and as Gary had just said, so when whoever owns that lot, they can push snow. It's an agreement between, yeah, so basically it's a way of relieving some of the, I won't say steepness, but they got a place to put the snow in.
Yeah.
Or a larger truck, if they had to make a delivery to the house, has a place to kind of turn around.
I see.
Yeah, currently, for instance, oil trucks need to kind of back up, and they need a little extra room, so any large truck needs that extra room.
I see. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, and previously we had mentioned too, since this part of the road is a scenic road and our regulations require meeting with, I believe, meeting with or approval from the Conservation Commission for any changes to rock walls and things like that. Is that something we would address now, or is that a condition?
When he applies for the driveway permit,
We would make it as a condition.
you can. But it's an automatic thing when he comes in for the driveway permit, you don't have jurisdiction over them.
It's in our subdivision regulations. We spoke about it a couple of.
Right, what I'm saying is the driveway permits, when he applies for that,
Okay.
then anytime it's on a scenic road, which we haven't had any for, I don't know how long, it goes to them.
Well, doesn't it also require a public hearing, as brief as it might be, when you,
Based on your recommendations, this is considered the public hearing for the scenic road too? Because they're proposing the change.
I see.
So, yep.
We may not have jurisdiction over the driveway itself, but we have jurisdiction over approving a lot and approving access to the lot. So that's why I think it's in our subdivision regs and why it's there. But
So maybe just to address your concern, Ed, where the location of the proposed driveway
Yep.
is, happens to be in the same area as an area between trees. There's really very little cutting unless, nothing needed. And there is an area of stone wall, but it's been somewhat dilapidated over time.
Yeah, the only reason I brought it up is just because in the regs, we had the shall as opposed to should. So it adds a little bit of, that we have to address it, so.
So when you go to apply for the driveway permit, then that'll be reviewed, and Paul will turn that over to conservation.
What's the time frame for that, do you think, for a driveway permit?
And myself and Lori are not planning on doing anything immediately, so
Okay, okay,
we may just get that permit secured with Paul and get
Well, I was
that
think-
process in works, but we don't have probably spring would be the earliest we'd do anything.
okay. I was just thinking, running it by the Conservation Commission so it doesn't hold you up, getting that
So
taken
if we
care
start
of.
that process now, it'd be
Yeah,
probably advantageous.
yeah, our next meeting is October 17th because the 10th is a holiday.
October, what's it?
October 17th, Conservation Commission. Because the 10th is Columbus Day.
Any other comments or questions? Okay. I would say that there's a motion to do something, that would be great. Anybody that's really has opposition to this, so.
Paul, would you mention your 3 bullet items again?
Yeah.
Monument certification,
Yeah, state subdivision approval,
okay.
and add the note referencing the zoning case.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the application known as case P16007 SUB, application from Gary and Lorraine Anderson for a 2-lot subdivision. And this is contingent on monument certification, state subdivision approval, and also to add a note referencing the decision from the ZBA.
Second.
The motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Yes, I have one more question on the identification of the lot as Lot 1F. Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought we were doing them as Lot 1-1, 1-2.
I checked with Sue and why it's gonna stay F, because the surrounding lots are alphabetically that way, so she wanted the consistency. So, yeah, because I asked the same thing of her Buzz.
Nothing is ever set in
Because
stone.
you look at the Cola's lot is 1D, and Mark's lot is 1E, so, yeah. She has this magic coin.
Well, consistency of being inconsistent is okay, I guess, right?
You gotta admit, it was a good question.
It is a very good question.
Good pickup.
So I guess we can vote. Those in favor, say aye. Those
Aye.
opposed, it's unanimous, 6-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Congratulations. I would like to reseat Mr. Anderson on the board in place of Buzz. So that wraps up our public hearings. We do have some other discussion items. We wanted to talk about dark sky ordinance and the accessory dwelling units ordinance, or changes. I guess, Paul, you would probably lead this?
Yep.
All right.
All right, in your packets, you have a dark sky ordinance, and that would replace our current lighting section of the zoning ordinance. So this would be a section, it'll be, as you see, Article 4, Section Q. It's fairly detailed, it's fairly technical. I left out two things. One was lighting for large area malls, that type, big box stores, which we don't have the acreage for anybody to look at that. It is covered under the fourth zone. And the other thing I left out was the whole thing on street lighting, because this town doesn't put street lights up. All the street lights are maintained, by the utility of the state, so that was 4 pages I could eliminate just on street lights. It is very, yeah,
To that end,
yeah.
no big box stores lighting up the sky, no street lights lighting up the sky, no major issues with the sky, other than one case from the lake that I've heard. Why are we going to this huge ordinance over what we have already in here?
Because ours has no limitations to the point where we have some limitations on foot candles. But what it does is allow people in residential zone to maximize them out under our ordinance now, so they could light their area up like a shopping mall. You know, so pick one of the new subdivisions, they could light that up like a shopping mall. And based on the master plan, trying us to keep the rural aspect of the community, that's why there's proposed 4 zones. And LZ3 still covers the largest, the box area stores and stuff like that. But the residential area, and pretty much what you see on residential houses, it's not gonna change, except for people shining their lights. If somebody shines it, which we have now, shines their lights into the road and it's a traffic distraction, then that's an issue. And we've had a few of them in town over the years. But this is more or less to protect our rural nature. The board, in the master plan, it was brought up, the dark skies. The board's been talking about it for a number of years. This is a boilerplate one that, I want to say about 16 or 18, I can't remember the exact number of municipalities in New Hampshire. This is what they use.
Yeah, and it's currently, this is just draft, right?
This is just draft,
This is
so we
just a
can
draft.
change anything, yeah. And like I said, it's 13 pages, the pages 4 through, was it 19? That's just the definitions, and I did get your email this afternoon, Sue, and I haven't had a chance to compare it to these definitions.
Yeah.
These we just put there, and if these definitions get adopted, it'll go into the definition section of the zoning ordinance. And I just wanted to keep it all together. I don't expect us to really get into a lot of detail tonight, there's a lot there. If this does get adopted, there will be an expense to the town of buying new light metering equipment. It's not that expensive.
For inspections, you mean?
Yep. Yep.
And what about areas like the school, which is about the only area I know of that actually is lit up?
Yeah.
Would the school then have to decrease its outdoor lighting?
No, everybody that's there, let's say this passed tonight, okay? This has to go to a town vote. This will go on the ballot if you want to go forward with it. But let's say the election was, say yesterday's election, this was on the ballot and it
Yep.
passed. Everybody that was there as of today, basically grandfathered in, unless they make changes. Let's say the school, and we'll use that because you brought it up, takes all their parking lights out for whatever reason, and to reinstall new ones, then they would have to meet the ordinance.
Okay.
But if they didn't change anything, they can stay, yeah.
So then, in reality, the issue that came before the planning board by that woman from the Conservation Commission,
Well, it came from the master plan originally.
but when we started talking about it, one woman in particular brought up that there was somebody on the lake that had a light that shined in so she couldn't use her telescope. I remember the discussion,
Yeah.
because I was like, okay, that's not going to affect that at all.
Correct, because it's already there. I mean, we're not the light bulb police that I'm gonna go out and, it's gonna be like any other code issue. If somebody files a complaint on an existing thing, first we're gonna look at, have they made any changes? And we'll know that because they would have had to get an electrical permit. If there's been no changes, they're grandfathered in. If it's a new construction of a house, then they're gonna have to prove to me the outside lighting meets the ordinance. If it's anything but a 1 or 2 family residence, they're gonna be in front of this board under site plan review.
Right.
So, yep. Like the fire station, that outside lighting was designed under them are dark sky, except for the spotlights on the side of the building for security. Now, there are exceptions in there for security type, if there's a need to show that there's lighting for security, then yeah, we're gonna probably let them do it. But that's a case thing. Yes, it's very technical, it's pretty lengthy. This came, 99% of it came right from the Dark Skies Association. It's a model ordinance. It's used all across the country. And this was for smaller communities. They have one for like cities, which we don't, like again, I took out the whole street lighting thing. This town doesn't put street lights up.
Right, so this should actually be smaller communities.
Yeah, so the idea was to present it to you, because you had asked for me to get it done before I left. And so it's basically, to go through it. Sue has sent me a website to look at definitions, and I did click on it to make sure it worked. And it has some good definitions in
Yeah,
that, so
yeah.
we may incorporate into this.
I gave away all my physics books, so I didn't have anything to look up
Yeah.
into. Can I ask a quick question, Paul?
Yeah.
One of the rationales for having ordinances is not only for present cases, but also for things that might happen in the future.
Right.
So why did you leave out ordinances for lighting for malls where the property USA Springs could very well be
Right.
developed
And
in that sort of
if you
a...
look at page,
Well, does the lighting thing change too if you're in a business district than from a residential? district?
yes. If you look at, starting on page 8, part 9 tables, you see the 3 zones, the LZ3, I was looking at, I compared that, that's the more for larger development. So I compared that with our zoning ordinance and our site plan regs, and that pretty much covers what we would see built in this town. The USA Spring site would kind of, it depends on what's the development out there that would fall under it. The zone, the LZ4, I mean, I can add it back in, and we'll probably add another 2 or 3 pages. It really, like the mall in Manchester, or.
Is that like twice 16? Because I see that these are multiples.
Yeah, it was I think it was,
32
it was either
rooms.
30 or 32. And I'm thinking, well, if we're gonna allow that on Route 4, why don't we just let them do whatever they want at that point?
Look up
'Cause-
into Northwood and see the glow.
Yeah, I mean, if Route 4 hadn't had all the subdivisions on it, then, because that was another factor, is like, over 3/4 of the acreage on Route 4 is residential use. So if I lived in one of them subdivisions, and you're going, wait a minute, you're protecting everybody out in town, why can't? So that was some of the rationale. I can supply you with the LZ4 language, if you so choose. I want to thank Joanna for helping me on this. She retyped this whole thing for us multiple times, because she would type it, I'd read it, and then we found out that I have a different word than she does, year. So I'm like, I would make some corrections, she'd go, why'd you change the spaces? So she would print it out, I would edit it, I'd tape it and give it, so. Like I said, I don't expect us to get into detail tonight. I want to introduce it, and we can talk about it in the next month.
Yeah, so we'll take this into consideration and read through these. and
Right.
Get ourselves a little bit more educated on them. And then at a future meeting, we'll talk about them.
That was,
And find out what, you know, as a planning board, we'd want to do, potentially moving something like this forward as a recommendation
Right.
for zoning change. Yeah, I mean, I do want to reiterate it, that, you know, we are kind of selecting items out of our master plan to, you know, move forward on, and they're action items for the board to take on. It's not that those action items are, you know, implement something, but it's to review it, see if it's for our community, if it's appropriate, then make it scalable to our community and recommend it. And on the other hand, if we don't feel it's something necessary, I think we can also point to the master plan as it's something that we've looked at. We would have a recommendation that, you know, at this time, you know, the community doesn't feel, or the planning board doesn't feel like it's necessary or something. So everything's on the board or on the table right now to review, I would think.
yeah, and I would agree. I mean, this is the basic to start from,
Yep.
so.
Technical when we get to documents, and tends to make it lengthier, but isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Right.
Because it gets rid of having to make the board trying to figure out and interpret, or another board, you know, years from now, that's applying these ordinances, and say there is a big case that comes on Route 4, you know, and instead of having this gray area, they can say, okay, well, you know, we'll go through this, and we got a definitive way to measure.
And it really
And
also,
developers probably would appreciate that, because
Yeah.
it gets rid of that, you know, they're gonna
You would-
go before a
yeah.
board that's gonna
I
say,
mean,
I don't know, I interpret it this way.
I mean, you look at, just take our subdivision and our site plan regulations we just adopted. We went from that to protect us long-term. Same thing with this. I mean, there's many more things in the zoning ordinance we need to update. And Joanne and I were talking about that last week. And Ed's right. And the bottom line is, if, let's say this passed in, just like it's written today, they always have an option to go to the zoning board.
Oh, I understand that,
yeah.
and I'm not even
Right.
arguing that point with you. My whole thing is that we have pretty dark skies around town, and I don't see, and I've talked with other people about it, because we were talking about it, and everybody looked at me like I had 4 heads when I brought up that we were discussing the dark sky. They're like, there
But
isn't that
people
going on
think
in our
that,
town."
because most of the people that are looking, they're at their house at night. Drive through the town or come from North, especially from Northwood, at night. You come down this way,
Paul, I've worked
I know.
11 to 7, I've worked 3 to 11.
there
I
is a
come into
lot of
this-
lights in this town that are on at night.
And actually, I disagree with you. I found it very scary, but, I mean, regardless of whether we agree or not, I will look at this. I just don't really see a reason for
Well,
the
there's
changes.
also a reminder that we're a planning board, and what, like Gary had
Yes,
spoke to,
look to the future.
like Gary had spoke to at the last meeting with the planning commission, regional planning commissions, you know, talking to us about planning 10, 20 years out.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking at now, and this is what people want, is to continue with the darkness that's here. We can't become a reactionary board. Like if something goes on Route 4 and they can argue against what our current zoning is, and we don't even have necessarily enforceability on it, you know, then it's there, and then, you know, then the town gets mad, people get angry, they come before us and we say, can't do anything about it until they change, until they, you know, they go to replace those lights or something, then we can try to enforce it at that point, if we pass an ordinance at that point.
I mean, you know, we've got 2 pending projects on Route 4 already. You know, the gentleman that was gonna come in tonight, and then the one that came in, what, a month or so ago. And we've had multiple properties in town that were residential that the zoning board rezoned commercial. So that could happen very easily in anybody's neighborhood. We could get a commercial venture.
I think it could also
Passes zoning.
show intent to like our neighboring towns, you know, that we have this intent, and we would like, you know, we're not gonna try to infringe on their skies. We'd prefer that they not do it on ours. I know I live close to Route 4, and if I look out my kitchen window, you know, that whole side of that sky is always orange. It's Rochester. It's probably the Kohl's Plaza off exit 13. It's phenomenal. That's that bright, but you know, there's nothing we can do about that, but it does show we have that intent. So if there's ever discussions, we can say, hey, you know, what do you think about working on that?
And that's the problem with most people in town, is their first question is, I don't care what the zoning change is, or any ordinance a town passes, is, how does that affect me? Well, the ones that are already there, it's not really affecting. But this board's purpose, in fact, their main purpose, is future planning.
Understand.
And that's why we need to look in the future, 5 to 10 years when none of us are around. No offense to anybody, but
I'm taken.
I'm gonna be retired, so, we need to protect the people down the street. And Ed brought it up, technology's changing all the time, and things are growing.
But typically, the whole technology piece though is bringing lighting to be less.
That's correct, but there's still, if we don't cover ourselves and require that type of lighting, right now, let's say, I don't care where it is in town, somebody want to put a giant spotlight in their yard, unless it's shining down the road, blinding drivers, there's nothing we can do. Not recommending anybody do that.
Let's not give people ideas.
Yeah.
Any ideas?
Well, and I think the inclination from some clients I deal with, when they have a choice of lighting, they want the brightest, they're thinking about how is it gonna serve their purposes, maybe not so much, how is it gonna affect their neighbors? So, and with the new technology,
And
can be overkill.
99% of this, and I'm making up the percentages, is basically says, you can light within reason, but no light can spill outside your property line. You want light? That's fine. We'll allow you to have light, but we don't want you to light your neighbor's yard as well as yours.
Right.
What if it goes on to like state property?
Same thing.
That's a state, no.
It would be
Yeah,
spillage across
It would
your
be spillage.
property.
It's still, it doesn't matter what the property is, yeah.
Buddy.
Who the owner is. No, there could be a case where, let's say a large tract of land
Here's a
was
que- here's a
developed in.
question.
Yep,
Because, and again, I'm just using this playing devil's advocate, just here for me to say. Certain spots in the lake where their light shines out, but they have no trees in front of their house.
right.
All right, because they're viewing the lake. Now, the person across the lake, which is 400 yard, I mean, we're talking a distance away, obviously the light's gonna be shining because what are you gonna do? There's no trees, there's no buffer. Now, is that person, even though it's not, it's cross, I mean,
So what happens in those cases is that
mean, that is- I
it's
mean-
measured at their property line.
because that could also happen, I'm just not, it could happen on Pawtuckaway Lake. It could happen on Nottingham Lake. It could happen on, North River.
Yep.
It could, I mean, and those are a lot of residents,
Right.
small properties. Because they're all tiny lots. So, I mean, again,
So,
pre-existing, since you're already there,
Right.
light's already there.
right, I agree.
Hey,
It's
what
there.
are you gonna
But if we get complaints, what we do is, just like Dirk says, we go to the property line, in this case, the water's edge. And in there is written, how much candle foot or aluminum you can spill over.
Sure.
And if you're over that, okay, you gotta change your lighting.
I think it's basically saying that.
Or go to zoning
you should be-
board.
You should be directing the light at your property, not away from your property. Because as soon as you direct it away from your property, you're directing it.
Well, his thing
your
is,
neighbors and-
people like to shine a light on a light on the lake, because they like to see the lake at night.
Or just the fact that there's nothing blocking,
Preventing it.
to prevent, I mean, you could be half a mile away and there's somebody's big spotlight, it's like the moon at night. I mean, it might not really be, you couldn't hold up your hand and say it's touching my hand, but I mean, if your house is over there, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, you're visually a far, far away. But can you tell that person that you can't have the light on, even though it's, because again, it's small properties that, and again, just because we have 3 lakes in town, and again, those properties are gonna have lights that probably been there for who knows how long.
No, I'm agreeing with all
I mean, again, that could be a
Yeah.
most people now, I don't hear anybody complaining about lights, I mean, people on the lake, because most people shut them off at,
We
you know.
do get complaints.
Well, again,
But you're right. Most of the time, at night, people are shutting them off. We probably get, I'd say, 24 complaints a year.
24 complaints?
A year, yep. And basically, we have to tell them now, sorry.
Well, we'll still have to tell them sorry, because they're gonna be grandfathered.
Well, some will, I mean, there is some things in there. I mean, the ones that we've cracked down on are the ones that were shining, I mean, a few people, someone, and I'm not gonna mention the property, they put new spotlight on the side of the house so they could see their animals. And when you drove down the road, one of the lights was like right in your eyes. The cops picked up on it. So they let me know, and I gave them a call, and they said, oh, no problem. They adjusted it, and I waited and went out one night and looked at it, it was fine. I mean, that's pretty much how the enforcement's gonna be.
I think someone probably could start a conversation too. It's like, you know, like I think what Gary said, a lot of times people just, you know, they buy the biggest, brightest light because it's, you know, the same price. But they might not necessarily need it, and they might not necessarily even understand the impact that it's having. So they could, you know, instead of using 100 watt or bigger, you could use just throwing numbers out there, like 40 watt and direct it, you know, differently and get the same effect for what they're looking for, illuminating their property, but without the negative effect of, you know, illuminating neighbors or the sky and things of that nature.
The real reason most anybody, I'd say the majority of the time, would illuminate their property though is for security reasons. They're not looking to aggravate their neighbors or to blind the cops or anything like that. They just want to be able to look out on their property and,
And, I know somebody in town that does that. Her significant other or whatever works at nighttime,
yeah,
and she's, home alone. And she has the lights on all night long. Now, for me, I'm cheap. I say, that costs a lot of money, but, but that's, it's a sense of security that the person wants and that she feels necessary to have. Now, I mean, they're not huge spotlights, but they're on at 3 o'clock in the morning.
I wonder if motion detectors would serve the same purpose, because they're not on all the time.
And there's ways to, that's what I'm saying, there's ways to still accomplish that same effect, but minimize the impacts of it.
I mean, the
Have it illuminate and reflect, blast it off your property and onto everything else, or you can.
I'm not opposed to this. I'm just bringing up the other scenarios that, people are gonna have. And again, I understand the provision of this being important now, especially with all the new subdivisions we're doing and the fact that we're not on 2-acre lots with 200-foot driveways, we're on 0.8, 0.7 smaller lots and they're taking a lot of the trees down before they even put the development in as a way to get around things. And now you have a lighting where people can have, you have a 25-foot house and 2 spotlights 25 feet high, and your lot's only a half acre or 3/4 acre. I don't know how you can not get light to not spill on unless you're putting them straight down on the side of the house.
and then you don't.
With a narrow cone.
Yeah, but then it limits the area of what the purpose of the light is to do, to reflect. So again, these are just,
And they're all legitimate, and like I said, we've been talking about this, for quite a few years.
I've been here for the whole.
Right, yeah, it's been in the master plan, it was one of the things you directed me to do. I'm a proponent of duck skies personally, because our front lawn is if we shut the front porch lights off, we are in a perfect dark sky area, and we sit there many nights as a family outside watching stars, tracking the space station. It's up to you what you want to do. You can.
Well, now we have it right in front of us.
Right, yeah.
No, I think after
Now's the
going
time
through it,
to-
reading this and seeing it it was an excellent thing for next meeting, or, a month
Yeah,
from
future
now or
meetings,
so
yeah.
to maybe talk about.
Yep.
Okay, so let's couch that for the next time that we meet and Paul's back. Right, you're out for a little bit, so,
I'm,
are you back?
I'll be here all of October.
All right.
I don't leave till November.
So, let's move on to the next one, the accessory dwelling units.
Did you want to
Set a
schedule,
meeting?
say, the 28th
Well,
for details? Or
the
do-
28th of this month? Okay, that was, I had it later on
We have
my,
that as an optional
on my
meeting.
notes,
that we-
because right
we don't
now,
any-
we have no cases, right? We have no cases, so staff's recommendation is, let's take a break on the 28th.
Okay, because I was ready to go through this page by page, whether it was committee or workshop or,
Well, I think the rest of the board members aren't ready. Sorry.
it's okay.
So, it's up to you guys, we can do it on 28th, I don't have a problem.
The only thing I would ask about the 28th is, have we heard anything back from, the impact fees?
Bruce?
Bruce, there we go.
He
We're
was
still waiting on some more information from the school.
from the school. He has everything he needs from us. The school's holding him up. And he's had many requests to
Anybody,
them.
giving them a little shove?
I've given them a couple shots.
Couple shoves. I passed it on the town administrator to kind of speak with them, because I knew he was meeting with them.
Okay.
Whether that happened, I don't know.
Is the other information available to send to us, so we can at least, as a board, we can start reading it on our own time to?
We can make a request of that. The town's part, what he's got. I mean, some of it's intertwined, he said, so
Okay.
that's,
They told me
yeah.
that.
But we'll shoot him an email, and
Has he been paid a little bit in order to, okay,
we have not billed the school part yet.
okay. Just to know that,
And
be okay with
to be honest
that.
with you, they agreed to pay $2,500 towards this project. They've been uncooperative so far. So, anyways,
And our select.
So can we, since we don't have a lot of applications right now?
we have zero.
Why don't we just schedule the dark skies for the October 12th? That'll be the first meeting in October.
Okay, if we do get that conceptual, they okay to come in or not?
Yeah, on the 12th, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just for reminders, it's probably right here, actually.
It's at the beginning, yeah.
When's the deadlines for like public hearings and they can actually get it on the ballot?
For the 12th.
Oh, for to
September
get it on
22nd.
to get it on for town ballot?
Oh.
Hold on. I got
I'll make
that.
sure we're getting ourselves enough
That's
time.
way,
Yeah, I just printed it out the other day. Let's see, make sure I get the right one. Important dates.
I'm not trying to get us out.
Last Thursday, January 12th is the last day we
Okay.
can post the first public hearing, so
yeah.
we got, and I'll be back for the first meeting in December.
We have
Just the whole
plenty
month
of room.
of November, I'll be
We
gone.
should have plenty of room on our agendas
Yeah,
between then and
right.
what, for everything we've got. Okay, good.
Okay, so let's now go to the accessory dwelling unit, the changes.
All right, basically, as you know, the state, RSA 674-21, 674-71 to 73, I'm sorry, was changed by our legislature to take effect July 1st, 2017, basically telling towns what they could and what they can't do for auxiliary dwelling units. Ours, because we changed the square footage a few years ago, the only change we need to do to make ours compliant with state law is, if you look at letter J, we currently shall have no more than one bedroom. We can't specify the number of bedrooms, so that language would be removed and to be replaced with, to make us compliant, an interior door shall be provided between the principal dwelling and the ADU. Can be locked, it can be whatever, but they just.
That was my
want a door.
question.
Yeah. The original language in front of the legislature said it had to remain unlocked.
You can require a lock or something.
It has, yeah, people can, we don't have to require it, they can do it on their own.
Yeah,
We
but
can't require it to be unlocked.
we couldn't require, yeah.
Right, yeah. And then the other change is that is just updating at the bottom part, updating the new definition. Just replacing what we have for ADUs with this one.
With ours.
Now, I did have a conversation with a zoning board member, town moderator. Her question is, would this board consider also changing it to allow detached?
No.
And I've been a proponent of that, because how people are getting around it is it just has to be physically attached, could be a fence, could be a trellis, could be a deck. So,
Awning.
the state recommends that detached be allowed, but that's an option each individual town still has the right to.
So we currently do not allow detached.
Correct, and it's not in the ADU language, it's in the, we don't allow two dwelling units on a separate piece of property. But if you make that exception in the ADU part, because that was the question at the class I went on this, a lot of towns do like we do. You can only have one dwelling unit per lot. So how do they, if they want to adopt detached, he says you add it in your ADU is the or you add it as an exception to that section. He says, the lawyer says it was much easier to add it to this, because it's an ADU. Because the requirement is, it's still one or the other unit has to be owner occupied. So and the
So would
other
that be
question,
more-
go ahead, John.
Would that be more in effect if somebody has a detached garage?
Well, and
you
that's
have
it.
to have
And-
it upstairs, they
and
could
the
put
question-
a ADU up there and not have it be attached to the
Right,
house.
and when Bonnie brought it to me, and we've had quite a lengthy discussion yesterday on it, was you take, if you're familiar with hers, her house sits up on a hill a little bit, but she's got this nice little, it used to be an old barn, carriage house, and she's made it into a little yoga, like art studio, right? And like her comment was, that would make a perfect ADU. And it's physically impossible to attach it to the, existing house.
Have a really long fence.
Yeah, well, that's what her and I were joking about.
Well, once somebody's already, let's say somebody builds a garage with a commercial office upstairs,
Yeah,
how do we know when it gets turned into a residential unit?
they'd have to come in and apply for the permits for the kitchen and stuff. And we also,
You could have that in in an office space, kitchen,
well, if they're gonna,
toilet.
you could have a toilet and a sink. You could have a shower, a bathroom, you could have a full bathroom. But if you put in a combination of a sink, cooking appliance, stove, and a refrigerator, now you have a kitchen. Gotta get them permits for that. Plus, we require the ADUs to be, put on their deeds. That's in our current ordinance, and we're allowed to keep that. So, are people doing it? Probably. We've caught a few over the years, and how we catch them is when the assessors go through.
Right.
That's how we catch them. So that was a suggestion Bonnie had. Would we entertain detached?
Well, I look at, to be upfront, a fence, to me, is not really an attachment. So basically, if you look at it that way, we're allowing now.
Well, I would agree with you, but the New Hampshire Supreme Court versus Town of Fremont, because when I started working down there, they have 4 capes on this one lot, and they have rose trellises connecting the houses, and I says, but they have to go to zoning for it? So no, they actually took the town to court, and the court ruled that is a physical connection, so they are technically connected.
I mean, you could put in, is that the attached, that's not an RSA, that's our ordinance.
That's in our ordinance.
So if we define that, then it's, you eliminate that loophole.
Right.
And also, I mean, section 3, the ADU must be developed in a manner which does not alter the character or appearance of the principal dwelling unit as a single-family residence.
Right.
Yeah, that you might throw it into that kind of area. And attached ADU shall be designed to allow for reincorporation into the principal dwelling unit, so
Well, let's take the garage example.
you can't reincorporate it if
Well,
the fence down does not
if you
reincorporate.
drove by now and look at say a 2-car garage that's got storage above,
Mm-hmm.
and they convert that storage area to an apartment building, if they didn't, how would you know from the outside? And that's the whole idea, and that was, some of the questions were brought up in this class. And the other question, going back to the connecting door, it came up with, you've got a house, and your garage is attached by a breezeway, and you're gonna do the ADU over the garage, how do you do the connecting door? And the lawyers were like, the ADU has to have one exit into the breezeway, the house exits into the breezeway, there's your connecting. Okay, kind of a gray area, but they said that's how the intent of the legislator, they said, okay. I mean, we don't have to address it, it was just Bonnie had brought it up, and I said, I'll definitely pass it on tonight.
So at kind of the minimum, we're trying to get our ordinance in line
Yeah.
with state.
If what I'm
state
giving you
requirements.
tonight, if just by, on letter J, deleting a language, replacing it with that language, and just changing the ADU definition in the definition section, we will be 100% compliant with the new law in the state.
How about further question, are these subject to impact fees?
Yes, they can be now.
But do we need to include that?
What we need to do is under the impact fee thing, take out the, it's one of the exceptions.
Same impact fee would be applied if it was a new home, right?
Because they look at it this way, because we can't limit the number, if towns could still limit it to one bedroom, then their advice was, yeah, you can waive the impact fee, because it's gonna be that true, mom and dad are gonna live there.
Right.
But where now the state says towns cannot regulate the number of bedrooms, we can regulate the square footage, which we have. So that, and the example there was, you know, you've got a small tiny house and you build a 5,000 square foot ADU and move in the family of 10. So that's why they said, because we can't limit the number of bedrooms, then you can charge impact fees for them. So I have it written down to, in the, is when we do the whole list of changes to eliminate that out of the.
Why did this board decide to have ADUs only be attached or be part of an existing dwelling? What was the rationale?
It's been that way since I've worked here, Buzz, so I couldn't answer that. In the way, it's really in the zoning ordinance, it says our zoning ordinance you can't have two separate dwelling units on a piece of property. So that's why, if it's attached, then it's not two separate dwelling units. It's one building, or two separate buildings. It's not two separate buildings, it's one building. Before we increased the square footage, how a lot of people got around that, so they didn't have to go to zoning. They didn't put in the kitchen, because they were truly moving mom and dad in, and you and Bob would have done all the cooking for your parents, so now it's an addition, you can build it as big as you want. So, because originally, if you remember, our square footage was 420 square feet. This room is bigger than that. That was pretty tight, you know? So that's why we increased it, yep.
I think we do need to, if we're talking about planning and planning for the future as our job, realizing that mom and dad, and sometimes even kids with their kids, are moving in with parents. We do need to, I think, consider a separate dwelling being available. Because it's having lived it, it's one thing to have mom and dad living with you, and it's another thing having mom and dad living near you on your same property. It allows them freedom, and it would be the same thing with kids, without them being in your space all the time. So I think we really need to consider that separate dwelling.
Yeah, I think we need to think of the ramifications of it too.
Well, if it's separate, we have a maximum in here already of 750,
Yep.
so.
So that it would still be under the ADU guidelines, but possibly.
So you're not gonna see that 1,200 square foot ranch style ADU.
And doesn't it also have to meet setbacks and all of that anyway? I mean, you wouldn't be able to have it on your border all the way around a separate unit. It would have to be to meet regulations.
The dwelling unit.
It would be a dwelling unit, so it would have to meet the 50-foot setback.
So it's not going to be harming anything to allow, and it's only one, not talking 10 or attached.
And most of the existing properties, their detached garages meet 50-foot setback, because up until a year or so ago, that's what we required, so, yeah. You know, Bonnie asked me to bring it up. I said, absolutely, I'll bring it up, you know, then we can discuss it. I can rewrite the language and we can email it to you if you want me to, just to compare it.
I think we need to think about it.
Yeah.
It's a lot of,
So my recommendation, and again, let's think about it, and then on our, was it October 12th? If it's all right with you, Mr. Chairman, we'll.
Yeah, I think it's a good day to do that.
If you go to the New Hampshire Municipal Site's homepage, right there it says, "Make room for daddy, the new law on accessory dwelling units." If you click on that, it has all the text on what we can do and what we can't do. So, wasn't that an old TV show?
Was that
And you're too young, you may not remember it.
that also help us stay within compliance or conformity with the workforce housing initiative?
Well, and Bonnie brought that up to me too. I mean, that may help with a workforce house issue, where somebody can't afford a house. You know, a single person that's just starting out teaching, say, at the school. Boy, you and your wife had that garage, we make it into an apartment, we can help this person out, but it also now generates an income for you. Because the law says the owner can live in one or the other. The original language of the law in front of the legislature said that the owner had to live in the main house. Well, then, in committee, it was brought up, wait a minute. As we get older, like Teresa was just saying, I don't want to live in the big house. I'll live in the accessory dwelling unit with my wife, and you and your family as our kids can move into the big house.
Okay, well, again, let's,
Plenty of scenarios to think
do
about.
that. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a lot there to think about.
Can I ask a
Have we
quick
scheduled
question?
can we schedule our same night with our joint ZBA that night to maybe talk about, so they can give their input? Because obviously, we don't want to
We'll
create,
invite them, yeah.
Yeah, just send it out if any of those members
because we
want
have
to
to do it
come.
anyway. We're supposed to do it anyway. Have that joint meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I have a quick question. Going back to J, where the new language is an interior door shall be provided between the principal dwelling and the ADU.
Yeah.
But if the two units are connected by a deck or a fence, what's the purpose of this language?
And that was one of the questions, I didn't bring it up, somebody else did in the class, and and they're saying is to eliminate that. That was the legislative thought, is to eliminate the
Interior door thing?
interior.
Because that makes no
What they want to do is
sense.
eliminate you connecting it with the deck.
This doesn't do that, though. Not having having this language does not eliminate something else.
Well, if you don't have the
Doesn't
connecting
apply.
door, if you don't have the connecting door, then you can't put it in that.
It just seems odd.
Right, I know. I say, when you read the narrative that they have on the state site,
If you don't have a connecting door, you can't have an ADU.
unless we allow detached.
Doesn't say that.
Well, it says it has to have a,
Interior shall
Interior
be
connecting
provided between the
door.
principal door.
between the principal dwelling unit and the ADU.
However, the state has ruled that a fence connects them,
No,
may connect.
this will overrule that.
Oh,
That's what I'm saying.
This eliminates that
I
loophole.
see.
is what we're
Right,
saying.
it makes that loop, exactly.
Gotcha.
Makes the
So you
loophole go
need
away.
to have an interior door.
The only time, the only thing we'd have to change in that, if we do allow detached, we'd have to add in there 4 attached ADUs,
Okay.
which, and their whole thought of the connecting doors, so it stays that true mother-in-law apartment.
Got it.
That's where this all comes from. Because we actually have 2 properties in town that they built.
Years ago.
Years ago, and they're renting out both sides. Yeah, they've
When
been
somebody
here
builds
for
a
years.
house, do they have to have 2 accesses outside? Or can you build a house with just one single door to get in and that's it?
I don't think so.
No, you have to have 2.
Okay, so wouldn't this be provided that same thing? If you put an ADU on the house, you need 2, one to go through to get to the other side if you only have one door to go out.
Can't exit a house through another dwelling.
They'd have to have 2 exterior doors.
So an
plus
ADU
the-
needs 2
Or you
ways
can
of
have
egress?
one exterior door
Well,
that
because of the square footage.
goes into like a
Oh, it's up to a
breezeway.
certain square footage.
Each
But what
unit.
they do is an ADU, because what happens is you have to have one exit, and that could be down. And then the other exit they have to have egress windows, so that counts as a second egress.
Okay, so we're gonna move on. What else do we have on the agenda tonight? We have signing site plans,
Yep.
we do have public comment,
Minutes?
nobody's here. The board's, the member from the selectmen's not here. I do wanna go just around the table and see if there's anyone that has updates. I'll start with Buzz.
All set?
The CIP has its first meeting on the 20th. Woo-hoo! It's gonna be a quick one too. No, just kidding.
I did see on the town website that there's some tax deeded properties that are
For sale, yep.
being accepted for closed bid, or sealed bid, so I think that the deadline's coming up if anybody's looking.
I didn't think you could build on some of those properties. Can
Well,
you?
there's one.
There's a
Freeman
couple
Hall,
on
corner,
Rozier that
2
the
acres.
stipulation is they can only be bought by the abutter because they have to be merged with an abutting lot. But because them are the abutters have come to us, so that's how they, and they're little,
Yeah, they look
I
tiny.
mean, they're smaller than this, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, the intersection of Freeman
Literally
Hall
postage stamp
and
lots.
Kennard, there's that 2 acre.
The biggest lot is 2 acres on the corner of Freeman Hall and Kennedy Road.
All right, I have an update on the multi-town planning board meeting that was scheduled for tomorrow night in Raymond. That is now being postponed to a date uncertain. They have a large industrial subdivision that they're going to be reviewing, and it will be lengthy and controversial, so they didn't want us to show up for meaningless dialogue time that we won't have with them, so. Well, and I would say that that probably takes some precedence.
Yep.
So, taking cases before,
They're also shy a person, their assistant planner position's open too, so their planner's swamped right now.
so we'll wait to hear when the postponed date would be. That's what I have. Sue?
The library, Blaisdell Memorial Library, Conservation Commission, and the Maine Center for Wildlife are sponsoring a program at the library called The Messenger on September 29th, that's a Thursday, commencing at 6:45. This is a new documentary done by some researchers up in Canada who have been studying the neotropical migrant bird flights from Canada through the States and down into Central and South America. Reservations are requested, and you may reserve at the library for attending this program. It is a free program. It's not for the faint of heart. It's recommended that nobody under the age of 13 would get the message, and it would not be appropriate for younger people to see that.
Thank you. Gary?
Now it sounds really interesting.
Just like to mention Nottingham Day is Saturday, I believe that's begins at 9 o'clock, usually. And I didn't know if we had a table. I couldn't be involved in that because I have somewhere else in Nottingham Day to be.
I don't know. I don't think we had many takers on volunteering for that.
What a 9 a.m. day. What day's that?
This Saturday.
It's a Saturday.
Yeah.
I might be down there anyway, so.
Couple things, the Flutter Street subdivision, just to update, all parties involved have signed a PNS, and, before their next October meeting, hopefully it'll be all taken care of, so, they'll be withdrawn in that case.
Okay.
So, it's gonna be hard to see tonight, but, a team from Lowe's, it's called their Hero Team, I think, has come and, fixed the stairs, painted them in front of the Dame School, put planters out there on the ground, planted all kind of flowers, flower boxes in the front of the building, a new antique style looking light. This was coordinated with the Historical Society and the Recreation Department at 0 tax dollars.
Nice.
It was all donated by this group. They look for projects every year to do. If you get a chance to stop by and look at it, it's absolutely gorgeous. They've done a mixture of plants, and they did the whole work in basically a day and a half. They had 25 people out there working today. So, yeah, oh man, it was a great group. Yeah. And then the last thing is Strawberry Lane has its final coat of hot top. So we're gonna authorize their, the original bond was for 513, I'm gonna round off, 514,000. We've issued $445,000 basically in released money so far. The account balance is $69,221, and we hold 10% for 2 years, so we're gonna hold $51,393. So, I'll be turning into the bookkeeper for selectmen to write a check for $17,828 for the release. That'll be the last release there. And if they get their paperwork done, we've explained to them how to do it. It'll be on the ballot, not on the ballot, excuse me, it'll be a warrant article for the town to accept that. They're gonna request that. Rocky Hill, the last house is almost completed. They plan on hot topping in October. Again, to hopefully have the town accepted at next year's town meeting. And we've taken care of the other things I have on my list, so that's all I have tonight, sir.
Thank you. So we've got minutes from August 24th. And everybody sent all their changes into Joanna by now?
I move that we accept the minutes of August 24th, 2016.
Second.
Motion and a second, any other discussion? Those in favor of approving the minutes from August 24th?
Aye.
Say aye. Unanimous.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Motion to adjourn,
Second.
second. Those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous again. We need to sign plans and everybody's dismissed.